Drew.
Drew,
Hi, Drew.
Hey,
Dude.
Drew.
Hey, welcome.
you have written one of the most awesome vampire series that I have ever read, aside from Church Mouse.
That's pretty awesome. Thanks, man. Hey, can you hear me? I don't want to do a hot mic, but
Oh, you sound totally fine. Yeah.
we can
Hey,
hear
man.
hey, Regina.
How is it going, Drew? Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, absolutely. You know,
We're also joined by Jasper Bark of Crystal Lake Publishing, and I figured it'd be a great meeting of the minds.
hey, Jasper. I just posted about
Hey, Drew.
30 of your books on Godless 3 days ago.
Hey, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, I'm working with Joe over at Crystal Lake, and I'm putting up all his titles. He's a really awesome dude.
He
And
is a totally excellent individual.
Yeah.
You don't get many people of his caliber. I mean, and when I say caliber, I don't mean his skills and his talents, which are very much in evidence. I'm talking about character in terms of his personality, the sort of person he is. His moral fiber. You don't get many people as excellent as him in the world of publishing, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those weird things. I've met a lot of these guys who are publishers, and all of them seem really rad. Like my publisher is Bloodbound, so Mark and Joe are just like the
great.
nicest dudes in the world. And Joe's been great from Crystal Lake, and Jared Barbie's been really cool. You know, I brought a lot of people in to Godless as essentially like partner publishers, and I just put all their work up. And if stuff's in KDP Direct or anything like that, or KDP Select, I'll just link out to Amazon and hope that they'll throw me some titles. But I mean, everyone's really excited about it, and everyone's being really cool because it's an opportunity to do something different, right? You know, people feel that they're being censored a lot. And so, well, it's awesome to meet you, Jasper.
And you too. And it was just only a few days ago I was exchanging messages with Joe all about this and what you're doing and how excited he is to be involved with it.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm gonna launch next Sunday at midnight, which is technically Monday, but it's gonna be fuck. I got so much shit to do. I'm posting the right now. I'm posting all the titles from like the non-partner publishers, and someone like Necro and Eraserhead and these guys, they've got like a zillion fucking titles. So
man, but they've got a zillion excellent titles. I mean, the difference there must be just making certain you don't leave out something seriously awesome.
Yeah, but it's going to be a lot of work. But you know what? I set myself up for this, so I gotta follow through.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's going to be a lot of work, but the rewards are going to be huge. The personal
and were you going to say something, Regina?
And the sense that people such as yourselves who are seriously giving something back to the community that nurtures them.
Yeah, I think that's a whole point, and that's why I get kind of confused. I mean, I get it when people like really kind of second guess what I'm doing and think that I'm out to steal their IP or rip them off or any shit like that. What I'm trying to do here is create a platform specifically for indie horror authors. And it's a platform that's going to work as an MCN, which is a multi-channel network, where I'm going to try and turn the horror voices of today into social influencers. So I think it's important that people kind of get about that and figure out what I'm trying to do here. And it's all about amplification. And we've got a really strong platform. We've got an amazingly strong community where if everyone pulls together, it's going to benefit everyone. I don't want to steal anyone's fucking work, dude.
It's not about stealing each other's work. We're not in competition. We're all readers and we're all writers.
Yep.
We're all potential supporters of each other.
Exactly.
And the key word you were saying was amplification. one voice amplifies another,
Yep.
and then another, and extends that kind of feed like a ripple out throughout the whole community. We've all got people in touch, and the more good people that we recommend, the more trust we build up between each other, and the more excitement. There is nothing better than putting down a novel and going, man, I've got to talk about this with someone. I've got to share this with someone. Or the excitement you get when you recommend something to somebody because you know this will be so up their street, and they get back to you and say, "Hey, thank you so much. That was awesome."
Yeah, it's all about. Well, we got such a tight knit community that if we actually bring ourselves together and help each other out, like I'm trying to help these young guys, like Daniel Volpe. I can't pronounce his
I know
name.
stuff.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
Daniel J.
Yeah, Daniel J. And Simon McCarty, who I fucking love this guy.
He's so great.
He's given me like all these exclusives because he can't put his work anywhere, you know. So he's looking to me to help us get his work out there. So I just think that's a big deal. It's a big deal to him, and it's a bigger deal to me that he's kind of trusting me with his work, you know. And I really admire him. And you know, being an indie horror author myself, it's like. I know how hard it is, Jasper. I know you know how hard it is. It's we don't have anything like this. We've got the community. The community pulls together, but we don't have any way to like distribute and talk, and you know, tell our friends about our community and shit like that. You know?
So Drew, do you have a submission like call yet, or how are you going to handle bringing in new recruits? Because in this room right now, I can already recommend 3 or 4 that might be perfect for your operation if they're allowed to let their imaginations just run wild under your umbrella of publishing. You know?
Yeah, I'm not really doing publishing. I'm doing certain publishing thing under the Godless Press moniker. Essentially, what I'm doing is publishing books like this series I'm going to have called Mix 66. And what it is you take a single author every month, take 6 pieces of work, throw it in a book, and deliver it and sell it for 50 cents.
Like a demo tape.
It's a mixtape.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy.
And I think that a couple other things that I'm going to do with Godless Press. I'm doing this thing. It's going to call Bloody Splits, which are going to be like if Jasper and I'll take a look at like a chapter of one of Jasper's stories, and he'll look at one of mine, and we'll rewrite each of those chapters from our points of view. It's like a punk rock split cassette, right? You know, where like Noah Flex played like all Rancid's music, and Rancid played all Noah Flex's music. So that's another thing that I'm going to do.
What an excellent idea!
Oh man,
Yeah.
I did that.
So obviously,
Always too far. ahead
And
of
your
you guys.
headphones.
Oh, sorry.
it's all right then. So
I had a
obviously,
very never mind.
and in her endless adventures. So obviously there was a need for this because so many authors are experiencing censorship of a very unreasonable, untenable quality. You know, for really strange infractions. And Simon McCarty, I believe he's suffered from Amazon's like umbrella parenting more than anybody. You know, so it's good that you've provided him a platform. But so you say you're not running a submission call. Like,
No.
How will you determine who you will work with? How do you determine?
And anyone who sends an email and asks for more information and wants to be involved in the site to creators@godless.com, they're in. I'll distribute anything. I'm not going to distribute anything racist. I come from a mixed family, so
Well, now
it's
wait a
like,
minute though. Moonface, isn't that a pejorative of racial? And I don't know. Is it?
That's not what it's about.
it's not what it's
No,
about.
Okay.
But
It's a joke, basically. It's more of a joke, right?
the
I-
title. I've read the book, and it doesn't refer to anything. It's about a smallpox victim,
Okay.
yeah.
so that's just the nickname.
So it's like
So the guy
Gator
literally
face.
has a moon-shaped face, right? Or is that
Yeah,
Well, it's
like-
because of the craters in his face.
Like
Yeah.
crater face.
okay?
Is what
Okay, got you. Okay.
But to answer your question, any of you guys on here, Regina especially, send me your stuff, dude, and I'll put it up. I'll try and get it up before launch. I think that people don't really understand the purpose of the platform right out of the gate. So it's better to, as in writing, to show not tell. Go to the site, use a password, check it out, and see what's going on, right? And see like how I'm kind of like developing this to build up something big that's specific and laser focused on the indie horror community. You know, and beyond the fact that people are getting censored a lot, they're getting freaking raped from their royalties, and I just don't think that's cool either. Granted, I'm going to take 10% because I'm doing a lot of fucking work, right? But it's like, you know, that's nothing compared to what Amazon's doing.
I was going to say 70-80% Amazon's taking. That's a tiny
And-
amount.
And
And
I'm,
percent of what Amazon loses at the end of it all.
yeah. I mean, I'm building. I'm going to build featured author videos. I'm going to do horror authors react to horror movies. I'm gonna do all this shit on YouTube. I actually wanted to talk to you guys and see if you guys would do a condensed version of this show every Sunday, like a half-hour version, and I'll put a shelf on Godless, and you guys can be like an official kind of like podcast sponsor. I don't know if you'd want to do it, but
I
I mean,
awesome.
Yeah, get with me after the show. I'd love to. Yeah, tell me exactly what you want, and so you want to condense down to what the best of each week, or the parts where we talk about an up and coming author, or what, or
no, just do like a half hour, maybe like a pre-game show.
okay.
Okay. Where you guys just talk about indie literature, horror.
Fantastic.
You know, that's all I want.
Who counts?
I'm trying to give it all these opportunities together for people to really break out. Like I made my featured author video, and you know, you can look at this because I made a joke at the beginning of it. And I'm kind of like, I'm the first featured author on Godless because I own fucking Godless, right? But I mean that's kind of the point. If I believe in the platform and I'm putting up all my shit on there exclusively, and I've got buy-in from my publisher, it's like you have to understand that if I'm going to use it, then it's okay for you to use it. And I'm going to bust my ass to make sure that I get you as much promotion and visibility as you can possibly get. I'm bending over backwards, quote unquote, for Simon and Daniel because I just think they're fucking awesome. You know, they were early adopters. They're super cool, and you know, it's like, so do you need me to take a pass at your cover art? Do you need me to relay out your ebook? You know, and I'm doing that for them, and I'm not going to do that for everybody, obviously, but I want people to know that I'm sincerely here to make this something that is going to really boost the community and really kind of take it to another level. I hope. You know, it's risky no matter what, but I believe in it, and I'm putting all my shit on there.
So Ben, Ann, Regina, Neil, and Thomas, I think all of you guys could benefit from this because you're not censorship happy like Amazon, correct, Drew?
Yeah, I mean, all you guys, seriously, when you get done tonight with this, send an email to creators at godless.com and tell me what you're interested in. I'll send you over an agreement tomorrow morning, as soon as I can get it done. Right? I want to support you, Regina. I love your shit, dude.
Oh, thank
love
you.
having a platform.
Oh, that's very, very kind. Thank you. I've got a couple of stories that I would be interested in writing and putting on your platform at some point in the future, but I am just like, so we'll see. I'm gonna have some time coming up here soon, maybe, so we'll see what I can do. We'll talk.
Perfect.
My people will call you
definitely.
your people, and by that I mean the voices in my head will write out a letter and send it to you. So thank you.
Sorry,
I'll definitely get a hold of you as soon as I can.
Ben, have you experienced any censorship yet with your stuff?
Not yet. I haven't really put enough out to experience that, but I can see it happening.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep rubbing my nose. I got sick this week.
Right.
Yesterday, COVID test, and thankfully negative. But I mean, if you guys didn't know, LA is a fucking nightmare right now. It's like super dangerous. Not only because of COVID, it's because people are desperate, and I've got the Citizen app on my phone, and it's blowing up constantly. People get stabbed and chased with machetes and shit like that. So it's fucking crazy.
Yikes.
And over in,
Your microphone again, Ann.
well, I was just going to say, and you're over there in Palm Springs. It's probably not much better there. He's talking about LA being really dangerous right now. You have
I could hear him. It was just my microphone interfering with the speaker. I plugged the.
She's roboting.
Fuck.
Hey, Thomas, thanks for coming.
Hey, good night, Thomas. Thank you for
And
coming.
you're welcome back anytime. And I definitely think, Thomas, that you should get in touch with Drew, because
I will,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, for sure.
your covers alone are such high art to me. I mean, that's what drew me into reading Bound by Rights. And so I think you could benefit out of anyone here the most working with this.
I think so too. I'm very interested. I'll be in touch.
Thanks for coming back. And if you anytime you want to come back, I'll throw out a link. So
Sweet, appreciate it. Thanks, y'all. Have a good night.
Good night.
Have a good night. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
So Drew, do you still do work with that with the charity? What is it, Children of the Night?
Yeah. I kind of wanted to bake this into it. When I launched Godless last year, it was a clothing company, and it was out to support Children of the Night and kind of like fighting child prostitution and teen prostitution and the exploitation of human trafficking and all these things, because all my books are tied to that. So there's an element of abuse in all my books. So I've always kind of supported Children of the Night. So I started this clothing company last year, and I launched it 2 weeks before fucking lockdown happened. And then I felt really bad about fucking pimping clothes that are perceived as satanic on people during a time when they're looking for anything to believe in, right? So, it got to around October, and I started writing again. I walk a half marathon every morning, so I was writing while I was walking, because I'm going to burn over 3 hours every morning walking. Why not write, right? That was the thought. So I wrote a bunch of shit, and I managed to give myself a sciatica from being bent over. So I totally fucked up my leg. And then I sent over all this work to my publisher, Mark Chiccarone at Bowdown Books. And I said, would you be interested in doing something like this? I sent those new stories over to you. It's called Fucking Scumbags Burn in Hell.
Yeah, I read the first one. They're like self-contained, like Twilight Zone type things, right? Is that?
Yeah.
I got to read the first one. Yeah.
So I wanted to do a novelette series based on this kind of theme of all these topical things happening to people and then going to hell. And so I talked to Mark about it. He said that the Bloodbound would be interested in doing it. And I said, can we sell it for 25 cents a piece? And he said, you can't do that on Amazon. So me giving myself a sciatica gave me the idea to turn Godless from a clothing company into a indie horror distribution platform where I can sell for whatever I want. I can not censor myself or worry about being censored. And I can just write fucking really hardcore shit and sell it however and forever, whatever I want it to be. So that's kind of where it came from. I actually started out when I was my walking. I wrote a 500-page diet book called The Satanic Diet. And essentially what that is the conceit is it's a really hard diet. Like I said, I walk like 20 miles a day, and I don't eat any bread. I don't eat rice. I don't really drink that much anymore, even though I'm an alcoholic. And, I wrote this weird book, and the conceit is that if you sell your soul to the devil, you'll succeed in this diet. Because all other diets are like, there's no consequences. On January 1st, you can say, I'm going to do a diet. And then 3 days later, you're fucking done with it. If you know you're going to hell, dude, you're going to want to live longer, right? So you're going to want to lose weight. So that's
and leave a good-looking corpse.
So that was that. And then I started getting into the fucking scumbags burn in hell. And because Jason Hill had read that first one that you read, A Little Bit Country, a couple months ago on Chilling Tales. And I'm like, I got all these stories in my head, man. I could really rope them into this. So I did that. And that's kind of the birth of Godless 2.0, which we're talking about.
You mentioned that one of your central themes is abuse and trying to counter abuse of children. Is there a personal investment in that topic?
Yeah.
Personal connection.
My first book, which came out on 666, was Godless. That's how I own godless.com. I'm sorry. It sounds like I'm drunk, but I'm just getting this weird reverb from my mic.
Yeah, no, you sound fine from what I'm saying.
So my first book was a semi-autobiographical book. It was about me. I spent a year in the hospital for an eating disorder. I was bulimic in college, and I dealt with that. And I also have been a drug abuser, and I'm a fucking alkie. So I kind of took that further because it was all about sexual abuse, that book, even though it wasn't a horror book. And then when I kind of moved into Knuckle Supper, which is probably what I'm best known for, which are these vampires who are heroin addicts who use humans as paraphernalia for their warm blood. Mm-hmm. I kind of took that further, and I introduced like a teenage prostitute character to it. And someone turned me on to Children of the Night. So I got this ongoing theme of abuse, whether it's drug abuse, sexual abuse, verbal abuse. It's something that I've always kind of built my stories around. I think it's important. I think that it makes my work kind of topical and more interesting than just writing a book about a bunch of heroin addicts, right? So
yeah, I agree. I think that's also one of the really key things that horror does. Horror is actually about all of us exploring, admitting to, and really getting to grips with the darker side of our natures, the parts of us that we're maybe not massively proud of, the things to which, if we don't accept them, if we don't look them straight in the eye, are going to take over us, dominate us, and basically destroy our lives. And fiction is a place we play with this. It's where we explore it. It allows us to dance with this darker side of our nature. So the more that we, as authors, as creators working in this field, admit that we have these dark sides and actually explore those dark sides and bare ourselves a little bit, the more we allow other people to explore that part of themselves. And that's generally why the majority of people I know in the horror community are really quite, contrary to popular belief. I think a lot of people think we're somewhat deranged and slightly depressed individuals. Most people I know in horror are actually really quite sanguine, very happy, very friendly, open and giving individuals. And I think it's because we've got a place to put our demons, a place to explore and play with them.
I think you're hitting it like right in the nose. That's exactly what it is, right? And
Yeah.
people criticize horror a lot and horror authors because they say,
How can you
"Oh,
write
this is
that? How can you-
horrible shit." It's
Yeah.
like, look at the fucking world, man. It's horrible shit.
I was before I was a writer, I was a guitarist in a death metal band for several years, and there is a similar sort of feeling around people who play extreme music that they must be, you know, deranged or fucked up in some way. But they're some of the most chill individuals you will ever meet.
Yeah,
So true.
it's not as much a misunderstanding is it's not looking deep enough into it. You know, if someone reads one of my books and their takeaway is that this is about freaking junkies and shit like that, that's not what it's about at all. You know, it's and I'm sure Neil and Jasper, I'm sure both you guys have the same experiences. You want to put depth into your work, and you really want to drag people into it. And if you have to fucking smack someone in the face to get your message across, what's a better medium to get that done than writing?
What's a better place to put all that violent emotion?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be bubbling up inside us. Otherwise, it's going to be toxic. And extreme music is another perfect example. It generally leaves me feeling, as you say, totally chill and really, really happy. I mean, I know a lot of kind of people wander into my study and it's blaring out speakers, and most of them can't even, you know, determine a tune in it. But for me, it's like it's lifting something off my soul, like a weight. It leaves me kind of feeling like happy and quite joyous and ecstatic.
Yeah.
Same with really good horror.
Yeah, I feel the same way about both. It's like it boosts me inside, right?
Yeah.
It's like I've been like the biggest Skinny Puppy fan forever. I know that's not extreme metal or anything like that, but
I don't know. They're pretty extreme. Their word.
I mean, they're my favorite band of all time, and I also like a lot of punk rock. I also like a lot of metal, but it's like it gives me this certain feeling. It's like it's boosting my endorphins and making me feel good, you know? And that's the same way. That's the same way I feel when I read a great fucking horror story. It's like, damn, you're like, how did they beat me to the punch on this? Right? This is so fucking good.
Cathartic.
You know?
All of this stuff is cathartic.
Yeah,
you know, like you get to deal with heavy things like death and suffering and torture and punishment and vices and just all kinds of people's all kinds of personal dark sides and you know, secrets and all of that stuff is very cathartic, and you know, it's better to experience it vicariously than out here in the real world, like what you guys were talking about a minute ago. And it's like a who's who on there. I'm looking through here, and I mean, I see John Wayne Communal. Let's see, Christopher Triana.
That's my boy. That's the
Yeah,
coolest guy in horror, man.
All the splatter westerns, and Kevin Sweeney, who I thought he had just stopped. But yeah, no, he's got a lot of shit. And John Bruni has got one on here that I didn't even know existed. What is this? Is this just you like hyping them up? Is that what it is? Because some of them link back to Amazon. Is that what that is?
Yeah, well, there's kind of two different ways publishers can go about this. Well, obviously, I really want to focus on the self-pub end and the really indie authors who've got no outlet, the Simons of the world and the Daniels of the world, because I want to help them. But I need to build a library. So that's why I would reach out to people like Joe and, Jared Barbie and these other publishers and say, look, I'll put all your titles up on this site, and I'll link out to Amazon, and you can see how it goes. And if you want to give me titles for direct digital delivery, fine. So I'm building a lot around like these publishers, just titles, and just to get them up there to kind of like stabilize the community and make it robust, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually the hope is that more and more people will give me titles that will be direct delivery and exclusive titles, which I've got a bunch at launch. And Joe from Crystal Lake gave me a handful of titles to kind of test the water out. So same thing with Bloodbound. Bloodbound Books is giving me, obviously my titles, but a bunch of their other titles that they are pulling from KDP Select, because I think that a lot of people are figuring it out that KDP Select sounds really great on paper, but the royalties just aren't really fucking there. And it's essentially you're selling your soul to Amazon. So, I mean, it's like, why not try something new? 90% is a good reason to try something new. All we got to do is come together as a community and kind of like help each other, right? That's how we beat the beast.
Yeah, well, that's you mentioned punk rock. That's the beautiful legacy of punk rock for us as creators.
Yep.
We are being shafted by Amazon, whichever way we turn. We can't get around that, and that's not going to ease off. That's only going to continue. They're a behemoth. They're part of the FANG, the FAANG, that are driving the entire world economy. They're just going to keep crushing us. Yeah. Our only resistance is to go local, to go small, to work with the people who are actually already buying our books, and to build an alternative.
Yeah.
Do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And look after each other, as you said.
I think that's the most important thing to think about here.
And look after the people who read our books as well. Give them real value too.
Yeah. I mean, because there's nothing like this, there's a need for it.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that people feel so fucking shit on that a lot of people are just going to quit writing because it's like, I can't distribute this anywhere. What's the point? I'm going to sell it on my own website. Social media can only do so much for you, but social media amplified by the entire horror community is going to do fucking wonders for all of us. You know?
When does Moonface release?
Moonface comes out on release or on launch, so that's the 15th, next Monday, and that's the same day that Simon promised me that Gob and Knob will be done too, and I've got a couple other exclusives. I got one from BJ Swan. I think it's called The Second Wolf.
That's a great cover, yeah.
I got one from the Butt. If I could just come back. I just got one from D&T, which is Daniel Volpe's Volpe. You know what? Whenever I see his name, I think of Valdo in Soul Calibur series.
The mute guy, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Valdo. I'm going to start calling him Valdo. So I've got something from D&T. It's called Nana. The name of the author is
Mark Taus.
Yes, Mark Taus. And I'm releasing.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited, and I also really appreciate that the community is supporting this. Right? You kind of feel like you're going into like uncharted territory when you kind of approach people and say, "Would you be interested in doing this?" Especially since I only started doing it like beginning of January. So I've been working my ass off trying to get this done. I own a marketing agency too, so I mean, it's like, I got to bide my time. Being sick isn't cool.
I've got to ask because, like I said, I read both of the R.J. Reynolds. The name of the main character in them is R.J. Reynolds, so people know what I'm talking about. But the vampire books, the Knuckle Supper and Knuckle Bald. In one of those, I don't know if it's the pretty boy vampire who had the exaggerated Twilight-like story to reel in, girls or what, but one of them like smoke like a guy's heroin-induced blood through a bong or something and get high.
No, that was wasn't the Rasta vampires were smoking a bong through like a human mouth stuffed with pot nuggets, and then they had a bong that like jammed into the skull. That was great. I loved that scene.
Is that what it was, Drew? Is that what it was?
I think you're thinking about Eldritch, who is the kind of flamboyant gothic character.
Yeah.
He's like RJ's ally, kinda. I don't want to ruin anything.
Oh no! Don't tell me there's a betrayal coming.
He's got a in the first book, he's got that body and he's sucking heroin out of it like hookah. So it's just been, they tell people that they can turn them into vampires, right? And it's just all bullshit because they can't.
Yeah, I can't. I guess for to be sensitive to those who want to learn it and learn about it themselves, read it themselves. I can't go into this too much, but I almost struggled to understand how they are vampires, but also kind of not. And it has to do with certain, organization and something that happened in the 80s, and and I can't go any further with a description, but I got to say I'm a little stumped. I almost feel like maybe RJ and the Cobra guy were being lied to, or not given the full story in that at the end of that.
Man, that's sucking the.
I don't want to ruin the Knuckler, which is the next book.
Yeah,
but you're following pretty closely.
Okay.
There's a lot more going on.
That's a badass series, though, and I love the tribalism of it. How there are all these different factions, and most of them are on their way out. They're dying, right? Because none of these alleged, quote unquote vampires are all that healthy. They're like what I think of when I look at a possum. They're like scavengers. They're like beneath scavengers. Right? I mean, is that
possums are beautiful creatures. Don't besmirch possums.
They really are cute. They're really cute.
Yeah, they're adorable.
We were talking earlier about the zeitgeist. That scene that you were talking about, where they were drinking a heroin junkie's blood to get high. When I had typhus in 2019, one of the worst hallucinations that I had during my coma was I was in Chinatown, and this like famous prostitute had been shot, and her blood was flowing everywhere, and everybody knew she was a coke addict. So everybody in Chinatown, and basically every scumbag, including me, from all over Chicago, was gathering around this pool of blood and just lapping it up off the dirty ground because it was so full of cocaine.
That's crazy. That sounds exactly like my books.
Wow. That's weird.
Something.
Wild symbolism.
When does Knuckler release, Drew? Do you have a firm date?
As soon as I get off my ass and finish it.
Okay.
I can tell you, spoiler, it takes place in Mexico. Essentially, it's Escape from New York meets Five Deadly Venoms.
Meets what?
Five Deadly Venoms. You ever seen Five Deadly Venoms?
No, never heard of it.
A Chinese kung fu movie. It's fucking bitchin', dude. Gotta check that movie out. It's like a Toho movie. So it's like that. Like the first book was, I think, Warriors meets like Train Spotting. Yeah. Second one was just more Warriors, right?
Yeah, it was very Warriors. Loved it. It was so fun.
Thank you.
But also horrible. It was very, very traumatizing.
You write in those books about characters who have, been abandoned. They're out on the streets, I mean, they probably sleep in alleys, a lot of them. But, and with your work with Children of the Night, I'm sure that you've seen enough real life stories that put those fictional stories to, out to pasture, right?
Yeah, I mean, just like everyone will tell an author, it's like write what you know. I know LA, dude. It's a fucking dirty ass town where people are abandoned and they're left out on the street. So that's inspiration in a nutshell, right?
Yeah, that's where I find places.
Anne is pretty close to LA, out in Palm Springs. So yeah, I mean, she walks it every night, don't you, Anne? You're
Yeah,
out there.
and I left LA right at the right time. Oh God, it's such a long story. Very very short story. Got attacked in my own apartment in Chicago. Fled Chicago for LA. Immediately caught typhus and almost died. Was hallucinating for like 2 months. Was thrown in a mental hospital because I seemed schizophrenic, and nobody gave a shit. The landlord, whose filthy conditions almost killed me, just was like, "You need to pay the rent."
Yep.
That's what LA is.
LA's the fucking nightmare right now. Stay
Oh
out
God,
of
I
LA.
can't even imagine.
I'm telling you, I'm not exaggerating. The stuff that pops up in the Citizen app, like right next door to me. Weird, crazy story that I'm going to take you guys down right now. So over the summer, this past summer, we were all on COVID lockdown and shit. And we began smelling some fucking rancid shit next door to us. Like we thought maybe there was a dead animal under the house or something. So I went into the crawl space, see if I could find any like dead animals or what it was, or maybe it was our garbage can and shit. After a month, we come to find out that the elderly, incapacitated father who lives next door to us in our duplex had passed away a month ago. And his fucking son, who's a meth addict, was living in the house with the fucking corpse in the family room because the dad was incapacitated for a month. So we called I got my landlord to get in there. She went in there. She said she couldn't get very far because the smell of death was so bad. A month in the summer in LA. That's like 90 degrees every day. So she comes back out and she's like, I can't go any further. And I'm like, I'm not going in there. I should have gone in there. Could have gotten some pics. So freaking she called the cops. The cops come. She thought that the kid killed himself too, that maybe he hung himself or something. So the cops come out, and I go, that motherfucker's in there. I guarantee he's in there. So they went back in, and he acted like he was like asleep and shit, and they came down. You can't get arrested for not reporting a fucking dead body, and that motherfucker is still next door to me and has been since August because the cops can't do shit. And he killed his fucking dad. He killed him.
Killed or let die?
Killed him. The freaking nurses who were over there, because he had like a stroke. He had this mysterious fall, and we think that the kid beat the shit out of his dad and fucked him up. So he couldn't walk anymore and he couldn't talk anymore. And so he was in the front room of their house, right next to there, where the nurses would come in, and he had a bed in there. And the nurses were coming by. He fired the nurses, the kid did, and they stopped coming around. And then a social worker came by and asked me, and he's like, have you seen the dad? Have you seen the kid? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I ain't seen shit. Thankfully, I got a picture of his card that he left on their door. And he's still there because of the COVID restrictions. My landlord can't boot him. He's not paying rent. They froze any money he would have gotten from his parents. So he's just living there fucking in the middle of a freaking mess. Can you imagine how like the fucking biohazard I was living next door to? It was gnarly, and the dude's still there.
On that note, guys, I'm going to say goodnight from the UK.
Thanks,
Jasper.
Thank you very much for
Have a
coming.
great night.
So much for having me.
You added a lot to
Thank
the
you for coming on.
conversation, that's for sure.
Well, thanks.
Pleasure meeting you, man.
Pleasure meeting you too. Look forward to a long, very, very fruitful relationship with all you guys. Good night. Good morning, where it's time.
Wow, this is I don't know. I feel like you've given a lot of misfit authors some hope, and that's a powerful drug. Once you get hooked on it, hope.
Yeah, and I hope that they can believe kind of my message and what I'm trying to do. This isn't about fucking people over. This isn't about exploiting authors. This is about helping people who are, very talented get their work out further. It's about bringing the community together, and amplification is the most important thing. I know I used the word MCN earlier, which is a multi-channel network, which is a really shitty kind of business practice, where it was these companies started in like the early 2010s, like Machinima and Osmos TV, and I've worked for all of them. So what they did is they're like, okay, we're gonna bring you to our network. We're gonna bring you brand deals and stuff like that, and we're gonna promote you, but we're gonna take over your freaking YouTube account. It's like, I'm not interested in doing any of that shit. I'm not taking any money out of anyone's pockets. I think that 10% is fair for like the work that I'm doing for people, right?
Yeah.
But I just want people to make more money, and I want them to get the exposure they deserve. Someone like Simon McCarty should be a fucking rock star right now. People are talking about Mother Maggot so much, and he's got no way to push it out. Even though it's not a mainstream book, and he's not a mainstream guy, it's like he can get to them.
Mhm.
And I think I can, I think I can help. I want to help because I like him.
And not just Simon, but I've noticed that the same names keep cropping up in association with each other more and more. That it does feel like a community beginning, in its beginning stages. Aaron Beauregard, B.J. Swan, Daniel Volpe, Nikki Noir. I see these names crop up over and over in relation to each other enough, and what they're doing is, related in a way that feels really organic. Just like when Bizarro first started, how that seemed to happen organically with people's styles kind of being comparable to each other. Or some of the more like the zebra paperback horror, how they were all related, in the sort of style, but they also had their own, quirks, and I see that happening with these names, with Simon leading the pack, So yeah, I think that I'm glad that who keeps
Regina's being ill.
Okay, that was Gracie walking on the keyboard again. Sorry.
Oh, Gracie.
Anyway,
Gracie
Oh,
trying to cancel me out here.
Oh, look at that cat butt. Look at that cat butt.
Did the footy butt.
but
The footy butt.
it's see, Mother Maggot was building a reputation for Simon, and then it got taken off Amazon. Me personally, I couldn't finish it, but I recognize that that's a strength that he was able to gross me out to the point that I'm gonna have to come back to this some other time.
Well, at Godless's launch, I'm going to have buzz books, and obviously there's no more buzzy book right now than that. And for like the past year, people talk about it constantly, and I think that that's a good thing. And someone like Simon should be able to reap the rewards from that, right?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, man. No, he's got some great offerings coming along down the pike, and so does Daniel. He's got some interesting titles too, and of course, BJ has a whole collection of things that I think are going to be coming out over time. So, I really feel like there is an increasing number of authors who are interested in using your platform, and I just, see more and more authors who are interested in either extreme horror or, just fringe fiction in general, who I think really could use a home. So it's a great platform. It's really exciting.
Thanks, Regina. And I think that's the purpose, right? You're speaking exactly to what I want to do. It's like, this shit we know is hardcore. We understand it in the horror community, but a lot of people outside of the horror community don't understand it. That's why I'm doing stuff like the featured author videos. You can watch mine. It's on the Godless YouTube channel, and I'm doing those for them. Like, I'm cutting them for them. I'm sending the authors like a list of questions that they have to answer. They send them back to me, and I'll edit that shit. And then, like I said, I'm going to do like a bunch of different formats that are really accessible to different people, like react videos and horror authors reading each other's works and stuff like that.
Cool.
So it's just making something different, making people look at the horror community a little different, and that doesn't mean selling out. That means making content that's fun and making content that's cool and making content that's built around the author's work, right? I mean, I'd like to get Simon to eat a handful of maggots.
Oh no!
That would be one hell of a publicity stunt.
That's what put me
I think I might have actually done that already.
Man, come on. No, that was
wonder why it seems like something's always eating you up inside.
I never had that millennial instinct to whip my camera out at the right time.
Yeah.
That was what put me off of Mother Maggot, was when the guy ate maggots out of an asshole, and then he popped his finger in his mouth like he was savoring the juices. I couldn't go any farther after that. Like I said, I may get back to it someday.
That's when I kind of just blur my eyes and power through. Simon let me read a couple of his stories that are coming out soon, and there are some moments where it's like, blah, 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 that's just okay. Let's see what happens in the next paragraph.
He's got that, right? He's got his hook.
Yeah.
Let's see how gross this fucking next thing can be.
What about
it's
Aussie Sickos? When's Aussie?
Yeah, I'm so excited about Aussie Sickos, dude. I cannot wait for that title.
Can I show the cover on here? Is that cool?
Yeah.
There was something of Regina's I meant to read besides her harem fiction, but fuck if I can remember what it was.
Babysitter
Dottie.
Bloodbath?
It had something to do with like the 60s, I think.
The 60s.
Wild Girl Running.
Maybe I'm just. Maybe it's just the typhus brain damage talking. I know there was something. I don't think it was that.
I'm very excited for whatever you've got coming out next with Puppet Combo.
See, this is why we need
I
a
love
blog
those
for the
games.
show with a.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we should have a log with Discuss Works. But yeah, I'm very excited for the next
one of you
title,
ladies
Puppet Combo.
Yeah, as soon as I get home, I'm gonna start a Google Doc. Like right now during the show, once I get home, I'm gonna start a Google Doc and just put things in it and make a backup of it every week in case somebody decides to vandalize it, and just give all of our listeners a link to the Google Doc.
Cool. Here it
I
is.
keep my Goodreads
This is
open
why-
while I'm listening to this.
I know.
Yeah, every time I hear something I think I'd be interested in, I just go and mark it on Goodreads.
Gotta add it.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
There's a lot of good shit out there. There's so much good shit. I mean, like, some people are so jaded. They're like, oh, everything's been done. But I mean, no. Authors have more freedom now than they ever have, except for Amazon when they get censor happy,
Oh, 100%. the stuff that we write today, like, no, it could never have 10 years ago. Yeah, no, absolutely not. Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. That's a pretty
Right?
awesome
I
cover,
know.
yeah.
I love
Does
that.
that remind
fucking
you of
cover.
something on like Cinemax at 3 a.m. when you were like 11 years old? It
It
does.
reminds me of like. Oh,
I mean, it
go ahead.
reminds me of like a death metal cover.
I was
a
going to
death
say, it
metal
reminds me
album.
of the early death covers, like Scream, Bloody Gore, and Leprosy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I keep telling Simon that he's going to be like among the first of this community to be anointed by a movie, which, I hope comes true and isn't a curse on him, because I really think that his books are like very cinematic and remind me of just all the really like hardcore, violent, torture snuff horror films that came out in the late 2000s, except now it's like really like just incredibly extreme. But I think that's the interesting thing about having it in a literary format, is that it's like you can't look away and experience the story. In order to fully actually experience the story in any meaningful way, it's like watching a film, you blink, but when you're reading words on a page, you're being forced to like actually read the words if you really want to read the story. So it's like it traps you with it, and I think that's why a lot of these extreme horror authors are able to create such powerful works, because they become just like so intense and so just like in the face of the reader. It's so inescapable, man.
Regina, that's the difference between like novel writing and screenwriting. Screenwriting is bullshit, dude. It's like fucking, seriously. It's like taking an outline and just filling in the blanks. It's so lame.
Yeah.
But novelists and people who write books and short stories and novellas and stuff, they have this opportunity to build like an entire fucking world, right? And they don't have to worry about the constraints of special effects. So I mean, it's so much more powerful, and it means so much more to me. My favorite book of all time is The Great and Secret Show, and I always wanted to see it as a movie. But then you think about it, and you're like, man, they're gonna fuck that up, So I read it all the time. Like I return to it because it just draws me in so hardcore. And Barker's got this way of doing that, but especially in that book, because that whole scene in the dead letter office isn't really scary or creepy or anything. It's just fucking engaging, right? And you can't capture that in a movie.
Yeah, all those letters, like letters to Santa Claus, letters to God, and just how he that was the first clue of this metaphysical other world was down there in that office. Yeah, with all these letters that people wrote to non-existent entities, and later on they kind of dream them up when the barrier is crossed or something. It's been a long time, but it was very imaginative, as most of Barker's were. Too imaginative for the screen.
Yeah, and they could never make Weave World either, right?
Oh no.
I don't know. They're getting closer with some of this stuff, but Hellraiser has degenerated with each subsequent sequel. I think the last really good one would have been Hellbound, part 2, and maybe part 3 up until CD Head.
CD Head was the worst character in fucking Hellraiser franchise history, dude.
Yeah.
You guys, I think I got to bounce.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you very much, Drew. I did have
you.
one author I wanted to recommend to you before you go, and you've probably heard of him, but Chandler Morrison.
Yep,
He's on there. Oh, he is. Okay, great.
Yeah,
fit right in.
I'd recommend Matthew Stocco.
I haven't heard of Matthew Stocco.
He wrote Cows.
He's been around.
Yeah.
I'd highly recommend him, especially since his work is self-published now, so it's all in his hands.
So when is so Knuckler is in what, like first draft, cooling off in a drawer somewhere, not written at all, or what?
No, it's written. Okay. Kinda. I've got the basics together. I just need to fucking sit down and quit fucking getting distracted by things like launching horror platforms and novelette series for 25 cents and satanic diet books and whatever other dumb shit I'm going to dream up on my walks. So trust me, it's coming.
So
I just want to close by saying, and I'll let you talk too, Ben. Don't worry. But I just wanted to say that when I found out that you were heading up this, and I was already familiar with your, Knuckle series, I felt like, man, that's just the guy to step up and handle this for less experienced authors. So I'm proud to have already read your stuff before.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that, Jeremy.
Go
Really
ahead.
quick, we need to talk about how we can do this as weekly on the Godless YouTube channel. So
Okay.
hit me up definitely when you guys are done tonight.
Yes.
It'd be very fun.
Cool.
Awesome.
So godless.com launches on the 15th, you said?
Launches on the 15th. I'm going to try and launch it on midnight, between the 14th and the 15th, but I'm not absolutely positive I can do it. I still got a shitload of work to do. Like I said, I have to put up all the non-partner publisher titles, and those are some deep ass catalogs, So, and obviously, anyone who's an author who might be struggling or maybe not struggling, or looking for a way to release their work, or looking for a way to release their more edgy work, or shit that they just want to sell short stories for 25 cents, have them hit me up, and then we'll go from there. I appreciate everything, you guys.
Well,
Alright,
we
so that's,
appreciate you
Doing a
coming
great
on. Thank
thing.
you so much. Yeah.
You're doing a really great thing. Thank you
Yeah.
for being
It's very
that
good to talk to you.
beacon of hope.
All right, so
Thanks,
keep
guys.
an eye out for godless.com on the 15th. Thank you so much for coming, Drew.
Word up. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Just X out of the window and
There you go.
Yeah.
Jeremy.
What do
Well,
you
that
think,
was
Dan?
a great conversation. That
Yeah,
was-
that
Yeah.
was.
What do you think, Dan?
Definitely.
You think you should be at home working?